Hi, I'm Professor Green, and now we'll be finishing up Chapter 4, Part 3. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. So Part 3 is just a short section talking about perspective taking. And here the ability to understand how a situation appears to other people and how it could be affecting their thoughts and feelings. And again, as a manager, you're going to want to see if you can understand as closely as possible what your subordinates are thinking. So when we attempt to comprehend someone's preferences, we're exercising what they call theory of mind, or the capacity to understand the minds of others by understanding their motives and intentions of their behavior, right? And so as I said, in that example on the previous video about my friend going into the gas station and thinking that, he was really getting pushed around by this young person who was in a rush. Actually, that person was trying to call 911, right? So it's similar to empathy, but slightly different. Perspective taking is the conscious mental effort to see things from another's point of view. Empathy is the ability to understand and share their feelings. So, right. So, I think that's really interesting and to see the difference. I just want to make sure that I had all my notes here. Yeah, we're going to talk about this in class a little bit, right? So we can be empathetic, yes, but we also, but besides being empathetic, it's important to understand somebody else's perspective. So it's just a little bit different. So, and how this relates to diversity, right? Because diversity is important in the workplace, but it's then important for us to understand today. The similarity and attraction suggests that we favor people who are like us in terms of preferences, styles, and worldviews. And they can also relate to stereotypes. But perspective taking can help offset any form of discrimination by sensitizing people to conscious and unconscious bias. So again, that's why it's so important for us to, really have diversity in the workplace, but also, take a moment to understand. And I feel like for me, because my parents are European, sometimes it takes me a minute to relate to people who are Asian. And here at LMU, I have a lot of Asian colleagues. And sometimes they just think a little bit different, but I'm really appreciative because they have really nice attributes from society that I didn't necessarily can be very particular about taking, right? In team projects, right? Negotiations. So important, especially if you're in sales, somebody who's good in sales, they really nail this on the head, and understanding someone else's perspective, understanding what the client is actually thinking. So seeing things from alternative points of view reduces biases, prejudice, and errors such as stereotyping. And it also makes someone more likable because you're able to recognize similarities with others, and even enhance one's own self-efficacy. So I found that has been super helpful in gaining buy-in or gaining team members to work and help with me. If I, articulate what I think their perspective is or what I think the perspective is of a fellow team member. And so learning to take another's perspective is one of the critical thinking standards that we talked about in Chapter 1, and it's most effectively realized when one can know and appreciate how another person thinks. So in this section, we're going to discuss several ways to develop your perspective taking skills, heightened awareness to be aware of it, reverse your roles, walking in someone else's shoes, feel the pain, and look below the surface. And so that ends this section. We will do more about this in the self-assessment, but hopefully that all makes sense. And I look forward to continuing this discussion with you all in person.